Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Las Vegas. Welcome, everyone, to the Acumatica Summit 2020. This, of course, is absolutely ground zero for the Acumatica community.
It's always amazing to see the growth in both the number of attendees and some of the statistics that get shared.
They talked about the ability to take images or pricing or stock information out of the Acumatica system seamlessly out to the website. And it makes doing those updates very easy.
Acumatica is really listening to the ecosystem. They're really listening to the partners and the customers.
Just to be connected with the ecosystem is a big plus.
Their vision, it's our vision.
300 new features on the product. A super platform that continues to deliver.
I am so pumped up. Welcome to day 2 of the keynotes.
Our development team continues to deliver on time, on schedule, and these phenomenal releases year after year.
Everybody always loves to come to Vegas.
It's what's next for Acumatica, and that always excites all of us.
Oh, the energy in that room today, if you didn't come out of there pumped, I'm not sure you're a human being.
Thank you for being here at the center of the Acumatica global community, and thank you for your trust.
All right, so I wanted to show you that quick introductory video of the Acumatica Summit that they had earlier this year. Some of the highlights and features for that, for sure. Excuse me. So welcome, and thank you again for taking the time to join us today. As I mentioned earlier, I'm Derek Lokowitz, the Donas Group's marketing manager. Your presenters today are Jay Porras and Bob Donald, Donas's principal and president. We're excited to show you the Acumatica solution, but before we get started, I wanted to take a couple of moments to cover a couple of quick housekeeping items. So first, I've placed all of you in a mute, because we're going to be doing a recording of today's presentation. You do have the ability to ask questions via the GoToWebinar interface, and we've set aside some time after the demonstration to answer those questions, so don't be shy. Also, during that time, I will not be mentioning anybody's names during the questions, so don't need to worry about any identity issues with the recording. Excuse me. So, all right, let's take a look at the agenda for today and set things up so that we have a direction to run off of, right? So first, Jay will be taking you through a bit of a Donas Group, get to know us, as well as run through a few slides on who Acumatica is and an overview of their solution. He will then hand off to Bob, who will be introducing you to Acumatica through a demonstration of some of the features and functions. When Bob is wrapped, I'll jump back in, read your questions for Jay and Bob to answer. I've got a few follow-ups for you guys, and then we'll wrap up. If you have so I'm sorry about that. So with that, let me go ahead and hand things over to Jay so that he can begin the presentation for you. All right, Jay, I'm sorry, I can't hear your audio. I don't know if you've got an issue with that.
Oh, thank you. I've got it's taken care of. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah, we can. Sorry.
Oh,
all
right.
On it, mute everybody. So
yeah. Thank you, Derek. Anyway, thank you for attending, everyone. Since 1996, the Donas Group has been working with a wide variety of customers in many industries. We attribute our longevity to our commitment to staying current with technologies and certifications. This has allowed us to support and service our customers and develop long-term relationships. Acumatica has always been in the forefront of digital transformation. Digital transformation consists of using new, fast, and frequently changing technology to solve problems. This is what Acumatica has been doing for over a decade now. However, modern technology is not all it takes. You must continually update your people and processes through education, training, etc. Developed for resilient businesses, Acumatica Cloud ERP is the most usable, adaptable, and affordable business management solution available today. Built for mobile and telework scenarios, it easily integrates with the collaboration tools of your choice. Acumatica delivers flexibility, efficiency, and continuity of operations to growing small and mid-market organizations. Here are some Acumatica customer comments. You'll notice the digital transformation theme is key to success in many of the testimonials. Acumatica is tailor-made for mid-market growth businesses. The scalable, intuitive tools give you one solution to run your entire business, delivering automation without complexity, compliance without rigidity. In addition, intelligent, industry-focused business functionality with the mission-critical capabilities and productivity aids round out the product. The Distribution Edition consists of applications required to meet the challenges of today's distributors. The Manufacturing Edition provides planning and control for the manufacturing environment. The Future-Proof platform was developed by Acumatica and is one of the world's best cloud and mobile technology offerings. This development platform has been chosen by many software developers as it allows for rapid deployment of new functionality within the product and keeps your investment truly future-proof. Open architecture provides ease and rapid integration with many of today's popular add-ons, as you can see here. From core products through industry editions, Acumatica is the only ERP system that can seamlessly move across any or all of these modules in a single, uninterrupted workflow. The modern user interface and flexible workflows are why Acumatica is consistently ranked high in usability by a number of IT analysts. The Software Review's emotional footprint analysis, shown on the right, ranks Acumatica in the Champions quadrant based on user sentiment or customer satisfaction in ownership. The CODIs are industry insider awards from techies to techies, considered by many to be the Oscars within the industry. PC Magazine has given Acumatica the Editor's Choice Award 4 years in a row. In the 10-plus years of Acumatica's existence, they have averaged 700 customers a year, or about 2 a day. Acumatica is committed to customer success. Acumatica's Net Promoter Score is quite commendable. The Net Promoter Score gauges the loyalty of a firm's customer relationships and ranges between -100 and a +100. A score of 50 is considered to be excellent. Some examples of other companies that have their NPR score, Starbucks is at 45, and Coca-Cola comes in at 8. The NPS and Acumatica's high support satisfaction are why Acumatica is the fastest growing cloud ERP company. Around 92% of Acumatica installs are within the cloud. Acumatica partners with Amazon Web Services, AWS, and Microsoft Azure. This is because they're considered the best cloud platforms in the world. They demonstrate unparalleled, robust uptime, and automatic geo-redundancy with your database being securely backed up to multiple locations in the country or even across the globe. Acumatica is extremely robust in terms of security. The physical security of AWS data centers, along with role-based access within Acumatica, provide the secure access individual users need. Two-factor authentication provides added security measures within Acumatica should you choose to utilize. Out of the box, generic inquiries and changeable no-code custom reports are very robust and can handle most reporting needs. However, more advanced or alternative approaches are also available should you require through independent software vendors or ISVs. You can see a couple of them listed on the bottom, BI360 being one of them. With internet availability, you can connect your system with many of today's interactive devices. Whether desktop, smartphone, laptop, or even Alexa, you're able to access and work from the location of your choice. Unlike other ERP offerings, Acumatica has multiple deployment options and to meet your organization's requirements. They include software as a service, or SaaS, which is hosted in the cloud and is offered on a subscription basis. AWS is Acumatica's preferred cloud platform. Private cloud is also subscription, and here you host the applications where you want, on-premise or any third party that you might want it to reside on. That's your choice. The third option is the traditional perpetual method. Here you purchase the software upfront and you pay annual maintenance fees. You have the ability to move between options if required. There's no per seat premium, so your technology can scale with your business instead of being a drag on your growth. Every authorized person can access, create, and receive the information they need to drive business, regardless of whether they are frequent or casual users, internet employees, external vendors, partners, or customers. With Acumatica's flexible consumption-based licensing plans, you only pay for the computing power you need. Our pricing is designed to be stable and predictable, geared to your growth. Unlike other ERP vendors who lock you into their data center, Acumatica lets you decide where to host your data, on the public cloud, in the private cloud, or on premises. With Acumatica, your data is always secure and always in your hands. You can do a full relational database export at any time, not just receive flat files like some of the others. You also have the ability to take it anywhere you desire. Acumatica believes that the more everyone knows about the system, the better and more complete the information provided. Open University is a free, comprehensive online training program provided by Acumatica. User guides are for self-paced learning. Job aids provide step-by-step how-to instructions for the applications within the system. Training is not a profit center for Acumatica, as it is for many, if not all, of our competitors. Acumatica is committed to customer relationships. Here is the core of our customer-friendly business practices, treating customers like long-term partners in joint success. Acumatica releases new product versions twice a year, in the spring and in the fall. Over 75% of Acumatica's revenue is focused towards technology, application advances, and improvements. Because of the rapid development platform, Acumatica is able to rapidly deploy new functionality with each release. These are some of the enhancements that came out in the 2020 R1 release, which there were over 300. That's it for my presentation. And now I'd like to pass it over to Bob, who will provide an overview of the product. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. I'd like to welcome you again to the Acumatica Lunch and Learn event. My name is Bob Donnell. I'm president over at the Donas Group, and I'm really excited to talk to you and walk you through a demonstration of the Acumatica ERP. Acumatica has been in the forefront of ERP development for the cloud. This product was written specifically for the cloud, and so it's not legacy software that just had a facelift and made it look like the cloud. It was written specifically for it. Of the employees that work for Acumatica, 75% of them are purely dedicated to development. They rely on companies like the Donas Group to sell, install, and implement their products. So their concentration is on development, getting feedback, what changes to make to the system. ERP, as the term has been used a lot lately, in my opinion, is an outdated term. It really should be business management software. Acumatica is the tool that acts as a single source of truth for your business, from the front office to the back office. Everything is included within one source. You can access Acumatica anywhere that you have access to the internet, as Jay showed on his previous slide. If you've got an internet device, be it a tablet, a phone, workstation, laptop, it's all available to the system. As a matter of fact, with this recent work at home status, the Acumatica clients have had no change in their business because they've not had to worry about licenses, how to log in from home. All of their people can work from home on day one. We're a completely role-based system. So each one of the users that access Acumatica has security-driven permissions. So everybody belongs to a role, and that defines what they're allowed to do. For instance, nobody from the sales team, for example, is usually going to be touching the financial statements, and vice versa. We're also able to support, I'll show here, we have a support for multiple companies, multiple branches, and multiple currencies. In my example of the software, I've actually got 3 companies with 4 branches, 2 branches under each of the 2 companies. We also have a very powerful tool. It's called the Universal Search, and you'll see this on every single screen within Acumatica. In this search box, I can search for anything within the system. So in my case, I'm going to type in 1099, for instance, and it immediately comes back and tells me all of the menu items within Acumatica that contain the 1099, the forms, the history, and so on. If I move over to the transactions and profiles, it'll then actually show me all the active documents that are out there that have a reference to the 1099. If I had any files that were waiting to be sent, this is where I'd see them on this particular tab. Also tied into this search is I can go directly to the help system, which is very extensive within Acumatica, and see all of the different help screens that are available, and I can go directly to them. We organize the software on a concept of workspaces. So over on the left-hand side of the screen, these are what are called the workspaces. And in the center here is our workspace expanded into what they call a dashboard, which we'll get into in a moment. So for instance, if I go to the payables workspace, these are all the things that, if I'm in the payables, these are the things I'm likely to spend my time on. These workspaces are generally a very intuitive design, and we try to categorize the transactions in one section or other. So in other words, we've got transactions, we'll have processes, we'll have reports. It's very easy to modify this workspace and make them your own. For example, if I go over to AR, for instance, and I'm looking at this, I should mention, by the way, we're on what's called a quick menu. There's also what's called a full menu, which is all the items that are available. If I go to the quick menu, these are the things that I use on a regular basis. On the reports, if I wanted to shrink this down, I would just go into the tools, go into reports, and uncheck a number of items, exit, and all of a sudden it's now only showing me the items that I care about. Acumatica really prides itself on the concept, and you'll hear this term over and over, it's a low-code, no-code approach. We want you to be able to personalize your ERP experience without needing to call a developer, pay extra money to someone from the outside to come in and make the changes. You learn how to make the changes once, and you have the power to then make those changes. Workspaces are one example of that usability and personalization that we're striving to always have. Also see that Acumatica gives you the ability to determine what your favorites are that you might use over and over again. This is another common example of the usability. So if I'm on the finance team and I do journal transactions and trial and let's say I do P&Ls all the time, by clicking the little star next to them, I've notified the system that these are my favorites. So if I go back over to the favorites workspace, all of a sudden under finance, I have those two items, and I can just as easily click, and now they're off. This is one more use of the personalization of the system, and it's set to users' preferences. And I should mention that each of these changes that we make to the screens are locked in to that particular user. So when a person logs in, it doesn't matter where they log in, every time it sees their ID, it knows what their favorites are, it knows what their screens are. And it's unique, again, since you have unlimited users, every single person can have their own. There's no count on that, whatever. Front and center on this, it's the biggest of all, is what is called our dashboards. Now, I happen to have mine default to the controller dashboard. And on the controller dashboard, I can see a number of quick items. Now, I'd like to bring up the fact that each one of these tabs that you're seeing, they're actually an individual report behind the scenes. So there are live data that I can actually drill into on any one of these. If I go over to the customer, for instance, I can see, for instance, orders to ship. If I click on that, there's 15 orders to ship. It then comes back and tells me what makes up those 15. So these are all the orders that are involved in that shipment. And I can click into any one of these orders to find the detail. One thing I'll bring up real quick is if you notice this column here, we have the ability to store notes for certain items. So if I click on the note, there's a note, this one happened to have a header note in it. I also have the ability to store documents. For instance, if I click on the little paperclip, it'll actually show me that there's a spreadsheet that's behind this order that lets me know how that order was created. So we have a full document management built into the system based on customers or anything that you see where you see a paperclip, you'll have that. And this is really a combination of using the usability of the system so that it's very easy, it's very intuitive to be able to walk through it. Let's see. Let me go back to my. One of the nice things about this is that this data is real time. And it allows you to do things as they're happening. It helps you analyze your data the way you want to, and a dashboard is one of the critical examples of that. When we talk about the connected workspace, we talk about usability. The dashboards provide notifications, reminders, and tasks to each one of the users within Acumatica. For example, here, let me go back to the customer. Looking at the customer view dashboard, and this is giving me real-time access to drill into any of this information. So as I showed, we looked at the orders that were shipped, and I can drill directly into them. Beyond just drilling into the data, we also have different types of dashboard tools that let me filter down on the data. So when I'm looking at this customer, I'm seeing all the orders that are needed to ship. I'm also seeing, in this case, support cases. This is part of support and open opportunities are part of our CRM package and allows you to then follow up on processes that are needed within the system. So if I go into support cases, these are all of my open support cases within the system. This is basically a data query that shows up on my screen. And I've got some color coding within the system. What I've set it up for, in this case, is, for instance, on the red, I've got anything that where it's late, I show it up as red. If I wanted to see awaiting info, this is the information here. Another thing I can look at is opportunities. Opportunities is something that everybody in the organization really wants to be able to look at. In this case, I've got them color coded for, in this case, red if it's late. I've got yellow if it's not been assigned to anyone within the system. And if I jump over and take a look at the one, for instance, I can see all the ones that were won. I've got them in kind of like a blue-green type color. The other thing that I can do within the screen is I can do quick queries within this particular screen. So for instance, if I wanted to just look at the status of only one, it would then immediately just change that to the status of one for all the ones that I want to see. That's considered a quick inquiry. And so I can do it every time I want to look at it. If I wanted to do something more permanent, what I would do is I could go into the filter and I can say if the status equals, and I'm going to have a value, and it gives me drop down so I don't have to remember what they all are. The status equals 1, I can apply it, and that becomes my new view as 1. Now, if I want to, I can then save that as a heading, and you'd see all these up here, and that means anybody that comes in can actually have access to that quick report that I just generated, and it's a permanent saving. So as long as I want to keep using that, I can. Now, let's say I'm looking at this screen, and status is probably the most important thing I want to work with. I can take this column and just move it right over to the front, and that way it's automatically there. As soon as I want to see it, I can work with it. Now, if you notice, I've got a scroll bar here because there's more columns. And here's this last outgoing activity. Well, let's say we really don't want that. I can actually go in to the designer of the screen itself and say, this last outgoing activity, I'm going to move it over to my available columns and take it off of my selected columns. As soon as I say OK, it's now gone. Doesn't mean I've lost it. I can just always add it at any given time. Going back. The other thing I was talking about was with support cases. In this case, it's showing for all of the customers. I could also bring up this screen just for one particular customer. So now in this case, it's USA Bartending, and all of a sudden the orders to ship have changed, opportunities have changed. So if I'm talking to them on the phone, this is kind of a top-down look at what they're purchasing from me. All of these other items on the screen are active reports with drill downs as well. One of the things also that I've got on here, if you notice on this pie chart, there's a little thing here on the far right-hand corner. We call it a legend. So if I click on that, it actually breaks down and tells me everything that's on this particular pie chart. I can turn things off, and it interactively is changing the pie chart as we go. And that's true for any chart that has this control set within it. I can drill down into numbers on the grid. We also have the ability, if I go into design, if I don't like the way things are, I can take one and move it over there, move it back. I did just before we started here, I actually created a new report, and I just called it invoiced items. I just did the last 12 months, and I just called it Bob Test, and it created the report automatically for me. These are the type of features that I did want to bring up, because this has allowed Acumatica to be awarded as one of the most user-friendly ERPs that exists today. Everything is trying to be as intuitive as possible within the system. Beyond being able to utilize these dashboard analytics, we also want you to be able to design the dashboard analytics. So one more time, without needing to call the developer, I can simply design this dashboard, and I can start to move things around. As I showed, I can drag and drop, I can resize the tiles, I can go ahead and add new data as well. And to do that, let me go back into design just to show you what it looks like. And we do what's called a widget. And these are the choices that I have, and we're in the process of adding a few more, but they're different items such as charts, data files, embedded pages, and this is what I use to create the other one. This is just another example of how Acumatica provides a true user-friendly ERP to make these types of dashboard changes, again, without needing to learn extensive coding or call a programmer in to do it. Now, behind each and every one of these dashboards is a very critical differentiator that I think is for Acumatica. Each one of these tiles is driven by what's called a generic inquiry. It allows us to bypass the need to create a custom report every time we need unique analytics. So in this example, we've created in this example, as I showed earlier, I'll blank this out and get the rest of the company again. Back to my open opportunities. This is the result of the generic inquiry. As we went through, I showed that we can move the columns around. Also, if you remember, the status column is now where we put it. Keeping with the concept of being a user-friendly ERP, you also see that throughout New Acumatica that we have provided you the ability to modify columns, modify fields, etc. throughout the system. So from this generic inquiry that we were looking at, I can change the status column, I can drag it to where I wanted to and put it right in the front. Same thing as if there are columns on the screen that I'm not actually utilizing, I move them out of the way. This logic is true for every single inquiry within the system, whether you're in order entry, cash receipts, accounts payable, everything works exactly the same consistency throughout the programming itself. Allowing the user to have an easier look and feel and be a bit more efficient is what they really need to do their job, and this is universal throughout the system. As I said before, you can move columns, modify columns on sales orders, purchase orders, everything throughout the system. So back to the dashboard on the customer view, we talked a lot about dashboard notifications. And I think notifications are another very important piece of how Acumatica works. Besides dashboard notifications, we can also provide automatic email notifications. Every time you get assigned a support case, for instance, you can automatically receive an email in your inbox with that case number and link it to that case. We can also send push notifications and SMS messages or text messages to mobile devices. These are many different ways you can be informed of what's actually occurring inside Acumatica when it occurs. Now, in this case, I'll show you an example of what they call the business events. What I'm using, I'll go right to my universal search and type in business events, or start typing it because it'll find it for me. And it says, okay, here's where I'm looking for. This is the menu I wanted to go directly to. So in this example, I'm going to say anytime there's a new opportunity that has a salesman assigned to it, I want that person to receive a notification. So if I go over to opportunity, we can see the condition that's already set. The operation is a new field value called CR opportunity, and the owner is not null, which means as soon as it changes from blank to having a name in it, I want it to do something. And then under subscribers, these are the actions that I want it to do. And I can have it do multiple things. In this case, I've got it doing a mobile push. Where it would then send a message to the customer, to my internal person. Or in this case, I could have it send an email, and it'll have all of the information for, in this case, I've got it as a new opportunity. When it sends the email, it just says, I can have the body of the email. It's kind of like a mail merge almost. You can have the assigned new opportunity. This is the opportunity, which is a hot link within Acumatica. So when they click on it on their phone or any mobile device, it actually will take them directly to that opportunity. And as I said, it can go to text messages, email messages, no voice messages though. In keeping with that, what I'd like to show I'm going to be connecting directly to my phone, and I'll be able to I'll share the screen with let's do this. I'd save it. So now I'm on my iPhone, and it's logging directly into Acumatica. From the iPhone, I actually have the ability to pretty much do all the functions that I can from the screen. It's just formatted for the phone itself. For instance, if I go, let's see, if I wanted to look at tiles, for instance, if I want to look at the field service dashboard, these are all the tiles that are on the field service dashboard. It's kind of nice because like when I'm out in the field, I'm doing field service or I'm doing deliveries, I can actually real time update the inventory that was used for doing, let's say I'm doing repairs. I can real time do the update of the inventory for the repairs. I can collect the signature from the client that the job was done. And if depending on what the work is, I can actually accept payment then from using a credit card. Another thing that can be used often is for expense reports. If you're out in the field and there's expense reports involved, we can then do, for instance, I'll just bring one that's been entered into the system. And we see we've got a hotel expense, the date, who it was for, what it was for. And if you look on here, if you see towards the bottom, you'll see the word files. What I have the ability to do is, in this case, I didn't have one. I thought I had. You can attach receipts directly to the request, and it becomes actually part of the system. So as you're looking throughout the system for under time and expenses, All of this documentation is stored within the system. It's available to the accounts payable department, so they have everything, all their documentation is tied to it. I'm gonna minimize that because we're not going to be working at that. Acumatica, I'd like to talk a little bit about our reports now. Acumatica has hundreds and hundreds of standard reports that come right out of the box. Every one of those reports is then easily modifiable by you, the user, so you're not having to write anything from scratch. It could be financial statements, it could be anything, order entry, accounts payable. In my case, I'm going to go over to the finance workspace. And you see a number of financial statements here. What I'm going to do is I'll pick the, I'll pick balance sheet. And I have a couple of choices right up front. I can tell it which ledger, I can tell it the financial period, and I'll just run the report. Just something that everybody's used to seeing. Pretty standard balance sheet, comes up with all the information in real time again. Every one of these numbers that you see, I have a drill down capability. So if I click, for instance, on total assets, it then gives me a breakdown of where those came from. Again, if you see it, you see the item underlined, that's another hot link. I can constantly drill down to the actual transaction which generated that number, which gives me full auditability throughout the system. What I can also do is using this grouping column for this report. I'm currently grouping it by, I'm running it as a consolidated, and I'm using it by company and services. So everything is linked together through a consolidation. But let's say I wanted to see a balance sheet just for my services in my East branch. All I have to do is click on the East branch, and with one click, I now have a balance sheet just for that branch within the organization. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm limited to just the branch. This is a tool, it's similar to like if you've used FRX for financial accounting in the past, this is what that works like. So if I go back to my balance sheet, and I edit the report, currently under unit set, I've got it set for branches. If I go in and I change it and I say, I want to do it by product. And let's preview it. I'll run it. Now you notice it's still the same balance sheet we were looking at before. But if I go into my groups, instead of like division, instead of my branches, I'm now looking at it by product categories. So if I wanted to see just a balance sheet, in this case, I'll pick, food items, for instance. That's my balance sheet for that particular item. And again, I didn't change anything other than a couple of clicks, and I can then look at the information that way. I mentioned this as the report generating tool. We have another tool that's used for all of the forms. It's very similar to Crystal reports, if you're familiar with Crystal, and that's used to change all of the forms within the system. This takes me to my end of what I wanted to show from an overview of functionality of the moving around within the system. And I'd like to thank you all for coming. If anybody is interested in a follow-up demonstration, getting into more of the nitty-gritty of sales orders and financials and accounts receivable, we'll be more than happy to set that up with you guys. And at this point, I'm going to hand this back to Derek. Take it away, Derek.
Go ahead and get into those questions. We've had a few that came in during the course of the presentation, but if anybody has one, subsequently, feel free to use the interface here and go to webinar for that. Let's go ahead and start with the first question real quick. I know we're running a little short on time, so we'll keep them brief and get back to everybody with any subsequent questions. First one is, if my data is in one of these cloud services, would I be able to get back up to my own physical location. Jake, you want to go ahead and take that one since you're on the line?
Yeah, you can always take a copy of your data, bring it into any location. Remember that the data is yours, and you have the ability to, take a copy of it, put it on any system that you want. So yes, the answer is yes, you can do that.
Awesome, cool. The next question that we had was, let's see. When the pandemic hit earlier this year, we struggled with having a remote workforce for the first time. You're not alone. There were a lot of people in that boat. And it says, if we use this as a cloud service, you're saying, am I correct in understanding that our staff would be able to use their personal computers to do their jobs?
Yes, indeed. As a matter of fact, not only just cloud, but even if you had any of the other deployment options, as long as you have an internet connectable device, you have the ability to access your system from any location, any device, any place in the world. So yes.
Cool. And so 2 more questions here, and then we'll get this wrapped in. So next question was, you said that the licensing model is a transactional versus user-based. My business is very seasonal in nature, so how would that work for me? Bob, do you want to go ahead and take that one since you're trying to equal?
Sure. I just had to unmute myself. Yeah. What's nice is for a seasonal business, what Acumatica allows you to do is actually change the user version of the license for those heavy use times. So for if you have a heavy use for 6 months out of the year, you only pay for that volume for that 6 months. And then what happens is when that part of the transitions to the slow time of the year, you would then go back to a lower level within the system. So therefore, that way you're not paying for resources that you're not even using. Now, I will mention though, even though outside of the seasonal one, if you're on a particular level and you have some strange influx of maybe 2 months of exceptional activity, you're not going to get hit with anything extra for that. That's just normal course of doing business. It's in the seasonal part that you have to then kind of look at it and say, 6 months of the year is my really heavy part, so I want this level of activity versus the non-seasonal part. So the answer is it does account for it, and you're only paying for what you use. I hope that answers it.
Yeah, good job. All right, one last question. The rest of them that came in, we'll reach out to you after the webinar to answer those questions for you. We want to be respectful of everybody's time. So last question is, my current system is a collection of different software packages kind of bolted together, and they don't always cooperate with one another. It's not uncommon. How does the solution manage that if I need to customize it for my industry needs? Bob, you want to go ahead and take that one too?
Yeah, sorry, I muted myself again. Yeah, I'll be happy to take that. Yeah, I'm actually being in this business for as long as I have been. I'm used to seeing that quite a bit, where you've got all these different inconsistent systems trying to talk to each other, and you can kind of kludge it together and make them work. The neat thing that I've seen working with Acumatica is we don't have that situation anymore. Acumatica has a program, it's called ISV, or Independent Software Vendor. And what that means is that other companies that have product that bolt into Acumatica, but it's not just a bolt in. They actually have a very rigorous set of standards that they have to follow to make the look and feel of Acumatica. So Acumatica actually gives templates to these developers and says, this is what it has to look like. You won't be accepted if it doesn't look like you're in Acumatica. So to the end user, it looks like you've never even left the product because you're actually still kind of in it. So the answer, that is their answer to that kludgy thing, is that they have, because it's written for the cloud, it does have these called APIs, which allows different programs to talk to each other. It's a seamless thing for you. So in that respect, it works out really well.
Awesome. Great. All right. So as promised, had a few next steps for everybody, and just wanted to, we've got a mixed audience of some new and familiar faces, and so I just want to remind you, Donas Group prides itself on being a trusted advisor to all of you. As such, we strive to post a lot of original content on current topics and provide you a lot of useful resources for that. So we've got a ton of those resources, obviously on our website. So if you're not already in our newsletter, please subscribe to that off of our website. Check out the content on donas.com. We're constantly striving to keep that kind of a hub of current information, as well as some archives of that as well. If you'd like a customized discovery and demonstration of the Acumatica software for your environment, give us a shout. We're happy to do that. It's easy for us to do. And obviously, this is the first of many of these lunch and learn types of activities and webinars that we're going to be doing. So definitely stay tuned for more invitations to come join us for other topics on that. So that said, I know we've reached our time. We're really close. It was great to have you guys here, and thank you for your attention this afternoon. I hope you guys enjoyed your lunch. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.